So I just wanted to share a few things that, just some puzzle pieces that have been floating around my head, like open tabs that I need to close that are in my brain. Um, so, okay, and line upon line, precept upon precept, which is another thing that God gives me random Bible verses as lines upon lines, precepts upon precepts. So, and that was one of the ones. So, part of one of them. So I have all these precepts and lines floating around in my head. So I'm like, okay, when you ask from your heart and send that out into the universe, you're asking in God's name because it's from your heart, and so it's of truth. So therefore you will receive an answer. And the quickening is just like a lot of people have been getting like instant confirmations to where they can't even get the question out, and they're just like bam, and we're like spooking ourselves almost, so if we didn't know it was divine. So yeah, it's important to have discernment, know what's divine and what, don't get too distracted though, we still got, we're gonna do laundry and whatnot, but all this stuff about like the Essau, okay, so, and I can't go into detail about everything, but all these things that were coming in, I can't remember if I kept hearing the name first, and then I was thinking, oh yeah, I had an Egyptian friend named Essau, which is like Esau, okay, him and his sister, I went to school with them when I was younger. And Elizabeth and Esau, yeah. And Esau, I just thought of him because I kept hearing this name Esau. So I'm like, oh, I know Esau, okay. And he was Egyptian, okay, so that detail there, which these are just, I didn't think anything of any of these details until just recently as I'm putting everything together. So, because you do that, you hear a name, like a rare name, and maybe if you knew one person named that. Okay, so I knew one person named Esau. And, actually, because I flashed on when we were in 6th grade, he used to play with the girls, and we'd go in a big circle and do the down by the bank with the hanky pank, and where the bullfrogs jump from bank to bank, singing E-I-O-U, Isa, Isa, ding dong. So it was funny because I remember it was kind of like a joke because Isa would always be with us doing that game, and then we'd say Isa, Isa, ding dong at the end, and like, I think maybe it landed on him once at the end. So it was just kind of like, and it brought back fond memories too. So this is playing out in my head. Okay, so I'm hearing Esau from a couple different people. People are bringing up like Jacob, Esau, okay. And I don't know the timelines of which came first. And then I get a random email from Sacramento Library. Like I've mentioned a few times before, I've lived here a couple years, plus a couple months. And I've only gotten like maybe 3 emails from them out of this, because I used to live there. So the first one said something Rivka, blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, this is definitely something Hebrew. Okay, so I look up Rivka, and in the Hebrew that's Rebecca and Yetzirah. Okay, the whole story of her being long suffering with her dysfunctional family, and she was just like, had faith that, if God wanted her to have a husband, then she would have one, and he would know who would be the right one, and she just wasn't gonna run away to do anything. She's just like, okay, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and be the best person I can be, and just keep going and be long suffering. And then she was taken out of that situation. God brought her out of that, liberated her from that, and saw her true heart and blessed her with the perfect husband, Yetzirah, Isaac. Okay, so Rivka and Yetzirah had Jacob and Esau. Okay, so and then the whole story. Okay, so Rivka. So from that email, I look up because I'm like Rivka. So I'm like, and it had something to do with the grandmothers, reading with the grandmothers. Okay, I'm like, okay, and that was when all this ancient grandmother, the ancients and grandmother medicine was coming in, and so I'm like, Rivka sounds Hebrew, right? Yeah. So Rivka is Rebecca. Gets it. Rivka is okay. So it leads me to the Hebrew because I look up Rivka. And that's Rebecca and Isaac and Esau and Jacob. Okay, so, and then I'm reading about Esau and how he's the red, the hairy, this and that, and I'm going, okay, and then with the things that one day, and I made a video, like all day, like I saw Esau like on license plate, like an ESA and then ISAU, different ways of like kind of not really Esau, but you know what I mean, like, but literally like ISA and then AU or different things like that. And then I was seeing like Allah, like I saw ALLA literally right when I had thought that, then I saw a license plate that said Allah. I'm like, well, I was just like too much, like Esau and Allah all day, okay? It was nuts. Yeah, so the Grass Valley sign on the ground where all the letters were scratched out, and it was upside down to where it said Esau, ISA, because, okay. I've explained it. I can't get it. So that was what I saw. License plates with Esau that day, and that's I'm like, okay, this Esau thing. Okay, I get it. Esau. I'm like, I know there's something here. And I'll tell you, when I read how Esau was red and hairy and stuff, I went, that's what Jesus looked like in my dream. And I remember having that dream, and I knew it was him, and just he was standing up with this girl that I knew from high school, and she was like crying and laid her head on his chest, and I remember he had kind of like a bulky, like stocky, kind of like a Scotsman chest, like the broad kind of like a Scotsman, okay, and like reddish, hairy, kind of freckly, like, you know, not like stark white, but he was not like this tall, dark person that people think he is. He was like light skin, like reddish, curly hair, kind of like, okay, and so I'm thinking Esau, and then the guy that I knew, well, when we were, okay, 6th grade, went to the same elementary school in 6th grade, and junior high, I think, yeah. And, so with the Egyptian connection and all these things, and then I'm like Esau and the red, and then my dream, Jesus was, and I knew it was Jesus because he had white on him with gold, and I've seen twice in my dream. It's the same thing. And everyone else, when they see Jesus, and they're the long curly hair, and he's wearing white, and he's got some kind of gold, like either around his waist or his neck. Or he was wearing like a big thick gold chain around his neck, actually. I remember it was around his neck. And then I could see his chest, like I was saying. It was like red hair, and I saw him again in another dream, and he kind of looked like he was wearing like a Peruvian kind of a jacket. I just saw a little white, shiny, white, bright fleck to my right, and then I looked over there and it disappeared. So, yeah, because what I'm speaking is truth. It's just straight from my dream. So, because I was kind of like, really? Jesus? From what I hear, I'm like, but I know that was Jesus, because you just know in your soul, okay? It was when I was first awakening and stuff, and not even to everything, not to the Morgellons twin flame, just first awakening. Like, I believe when I was out in New Mexico is when I had that. It could have been when I got back, the second dream. Yeah, I'm not sure of the timeline, but it was, good few years ago. Over 2, at least 3-4 years ago, maybe. I don't know, but it was before I moved here, and I lived here a couple years. So I just thought it was odd that I saw it was like red hair, curly, kind of, like red, and his hair on his body was like red and curly, okay? So then when I read that thing about Esau, and then my friend named Esau, who was Egyptian, he was like, you know, kind of like, I'll just say he was a chubby kid, okay? And kind of short and kind of looked like a Count Dracula, I don't know, just like Widow's Peak, dark, thick hair, just Arabian, English Arabian sort of, really. But I just knew I just remember he was Egyptian because I knew Elizabeth pretty well. We had some classes and she, I remember she wrote some hieroglyphics, shared that on the board before the teacher came in. It was still kind of like the kids settling in after recess, whatever, or lunch or whatever. And so we were just talking and she was like, yeah, I could write in Egyptian and all that. I'm like, really? That's so cool. Yeah. So anyway, I thought it was cool, beautiful, and she wrote some stuff on the board in hieroglyphics, and I was just like, oh, I was like, in a dream, like activating, like zombified, just like sitting there staring. She might not even have known what to think, right? But she was probably thought it was cool. I could tell she thought it was cool that I was so intrigued by that, but. So anyway, okay, so the Egyptian connection. So I don't want to get too far off on all the details. Okay, so anyway, Esau, this red hair, and then this, and then my dream with Jesus, and then I'm just like, okay, and this connection with Jesus and John, okay, and then a random pull in the Bible. I can't even remember where it was, but I think it was David. I was reading about how. I get Saul and Solomon confused, but the king that he hated David for whatever reason and thought he would surely die if he would send him out to go collect the foreskin of however many men and whatever. So he just sent him out to battle because he thought, oh, he'll just get killed because I'll just keep sending him out to battle, whatever. So he never thought he'd return, and he did, and he said, well, all the foreskins accounted for, and yes, they were, and he didn't understand why he hated him so much. But his daughter was in love with him. I forget her name. And then the son, I believe, was Jonathan, a different John, okay? And it said something about how their souls were interwoven from the beginning, and that reminds me of the 3-2-1 contact video where the paper cutter machine, where we're like a family of breath, cloth, but we get all cut up and then mixed together with our biological family. And then when we find our own breath, remember who we are and where we came from and reconnect with Source, then we start to recognize that when we come across those people in life, in our travels, on the internet, recognize maybe some people that throughout the years maybe you've only held on to one, two, three, maybe count them on one hand, the people that you've known for a long time, like since 6th grade, like, you know, or 12th grade, or 10th grade, I meant to say, when I was 12 in 6th grade. Yeah, so I have like 2 friends that I talk to and my dad. Those are my 3 friends. So there's breath family even within your own biological family or people that you have known a long time. So you start to recognize that once you recognize yourself, okay? A recognition of self is a recognition of, okay, and it's like instant. When you come across these people, you may not even understand what it is, but it's like once you recognize self, then you'll start having these instant recognitions and because that's what it is. It's your breath family, your spirit family. And that's why it's instant, because it's like breath, like that quick. So with John and Jesus, okay, so the souls being woven together, okay, that connection there. And I was asking about reincarnation, kept asking God about that. So he was building line upon line, precept upon precept. So Shem. So a lot of like Hebrew will say Hashem, which just means the name, which that's what I like, because it just means the name. That way we don't get caught up on what to call God, and then we can just all move on to the more important aspects of what we're trying to convey, right? Instead of getting stuck right in the very beginning. It's like that's a good place to start, not get stuck. So thank you, angels. That was directly from them when it's like bing. So we get tripped up on semantics. Okay, we're moving past that. We're moving past all this stuff. All the fallacies are going to be purged, and we're going to be like, okay, now you're ready. Okay, you purged it all out. I'm going to ask you one very important question now. Are you ready? That's what God will ask you. And this is what we're going to do as teachers and healers too, because people come to us with every false belief, every fallacy, fallacious argument to hold on to things that they know aren't true or no longer serve them, but they're just afraid to let go. And that's the core thing, is that it's just fear. It's not that these things are true and that's why they're struggling to hold on to them. They're struggling to hold on to them because things are shifting and they know it, and they don't know what to. So we're helping with providing the skills. And some people write books, and some people go around and do talks, and other people do channeled messages, and some people do cards and stuff, or however. There might be some transformative churches out there. They're spiritual. There's a couple spiritual centers here that are just all faiths. If you're a loving, peaceful, kind, compassionate person, it's about the evolution of the soul. It's not about any particular religion. And I still get triggered, and I'll catch myself and I'll be like, wow, that's part of an old timeline or an old story. A timeline is just a story, so it's just an offshoot of a story. So you take this bit of information and it tells this whole story. If you align with with that as your truth, then it goes along with this whole storyline goes with that. So yeah, we're just collapsing timelines by just releasing stories, because they're just stories. They're not who you truly are in your core, your spirit. So we don't need to attach. We could just flow through it. Not that we don't experience it and have it be a part of our now or at different times, but we flow through it. We don't attach to it. We don't cling to it. We don't identify ourselves with it. So all these fallacies are going to be purged. So, like, I need to eat meat because I'm an alpha male, or I'm a Native American, it's in my tradition, or I'm Greek, it's in my tradition, or whatever. It's in every tradition, right? I need protein. I don't feel full unless I have meat. Well, we're at the top of the food chain. God gave us meat. It's in the Bible. I've heard every argument, and I've heard them very clearly because I've heard them all come out of my own mouth. Okay? They all came into my ear, okay, and out of my mouth. Because originally when I was a child, meat did not seem appealing to me, okay? That's why they have to put it in the shape of chicken nuggets and all these different, and bury it in a hamburger and grind it all, because if you're eating it and you see veins and stuff, and you're like, ugh. And we have to cook it, right? Animals eat it raw. They try to eat meat raw, like an animal does. Well, animals eat meat, so we're animal too. We eat meat, yeah. But they don't barbecue it and put flavoring and all that. Right? And even then, the book of Nahum, okay, and people don't want to believe it, that's fine. But God led me to that all through synchronicity. I don't even know the Bible. And that was all random, just me communicating with God. Asking a question, he gives me the answer because I ask from my heart where the truth is. Okay, you're asking in love, which is God's name. Okay, you're just asking the name of God. So when you ask in God's name, you can't help but ask from your heart, because you align with that energy by holding the thought of God in your mind. You're aligning with that energy, so it brings you into your heart, the biggest amplifier of the whole chakra system. Okay, and he funnels it straight in. And so I just align with truth. I don't align with my own belief systems. I'm shedding all because I want God to fill me with truth. It's like destroying everything, leveling it all so that we can build it brand new again. Be built up in the way God wants us to be built up. This is through the heart, not the mind, not the ego. Now, as far as creating your reality and all that, yes, it starts with the thoughts, but your being in your heart center. That's where you need to be. Center baseline, just like the tennis reference. Center baseline, we have to reside. This is where we reside in our heart. Then that means that all chakra, it's all clear and we can jump to any energy point. Just, that's the quickening. So it comes from being in our heart. When we ask a question, we be in our heart. When we respond to a question, we need to be in our heart. When we do anything, we be in our heart. When we say anything, we be in our heart. Okay, so ask anything in God's name, you'll receive the answer. The universe, they love that. They love truth. They love more and more and more and more truth. The thing is that God, they can't impose on free will. So if they see us destroying ourselves, okay, until it gets to the point of Gaia, but Gaia has her own free will, and if, God's like, the earth, she takes care of herself, heals herself. If she needs to shake us all off like fleas and not one single human survives, in order for her to be able to survive, and all the animals and trees, I think that's a little bit more important, because that provides, that's provision. A human being isn't, how are we provision? We need provision. We need God to provide for us, okay, through Gaia, through the earth, okay, so so who's most important? Earth. Earth comes first, and then us. There can't be no us, and then we're just floating around, so we have no earth, nowhere to live, what are we doing? Okay, so earth comes first, right? God, earth, and then, everything else on earth, and then humans. And then humans last. That's why we need to tap into our God self and stop being like, oh, we're just these poor helpless, oh, I'm just human, or I'm always just, can't help, I'm human, right? We always associate, and Sadhguru made a great point in one of his talks where we always associate, we say that when we are talking about a bad behavior, so we're associating being human with poor behavior. We should start associating being human with being more godlike, more and more and more and more and more godlike, embodying more and more and more and more and more of God's light. Okay, so now Shem, Hashem, the name like nominate, to nominate, nomenclature, nomi. Is govern, okay, autonomy, so autonomy is self-governed, so nominate, name, it's like to give something power and authority, okay? Now, words do have a lot of power and authority to create, to manifest, so it's very important, just like when God renames people, just like the Native Americans do, right? Like, okay, because they know the ancient Hebrew customs, because that's what they are. And that's why you get your spirit name and everything. So when you align with God, you remember who you are, you start going by a different name usually. So, but I'm an ancient soul, I just know that. I always knew I was Anna. I remember coming back, I think it was the first day of preschool or whatever it was. Or somebody else had the name Gretchen. I was just like, I hate that name anyway. My name's Anna. I just remember I kept saying that. Like, I hate my name. I hate Gretchen. I hate that name. That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name. Okay, so anyway. So, the name, okay, but you say name backwards. It's Iman. E-M-A-N. Iman is like Ivan, which in English is John, okay? Evan, Ever, Eber. That was, I think one of the grandsons, great, anyway, in the patrilineage of Shem, okay? Direct patrilineage bloodline of Shem. I think it was a grandfather or something, but he lived to be so old that he was alive when his, like, great-grandchildren were alive or so, or whatever. But, so Eber, studied with Shem. Okay, I believe Shem was Melchizedek, was Jesus, was Eashoa. And I believe that Ever was John. Okay, because Shem means name, and backwards that's Iman, which is Ivan or Evan, Elijah, Joaquin, Zoshim. They're all form of, and Anna is the English form, the feminine. Okay, so Joanna, so if you think of Ea, Oannes, Joanna, Joanna, it wouldn't be Joanna, it'd be Joanna. It wouldn't be Joanna, it'd be Oanna, just like it is, Oannes. So Ea, Oannes, Prince of the Water, speaking of the, okay, the Eber, the flow, John, the Baptist, the water, the Holy Spirit. Okay, so all this connection, I'm just like, okay, well, I know reincarnation. And people can say, oh, timelines, this and that, but we don't have any proof. All I know is what God has shown me. And so I believe that Shem is Melchizedek, is Jesus, Ea, Oannes, and Eber is John the Baptist. Okay, and they just reincarnate. Okay, and also Essau. Jesus was Essau. And the whole Egyptian connection and stuff, I believe Jesus was hybrid. Okay, which would make sense of why they crucified him and everything too. I mean, there's more to the story than just like, oh, he died for your sins. He was. That's kind of what they want to feed you, so you don't dig any deeper. The thing is that they considered him a rebel and a this and a that because he knew the esoteric. He knew the ancient hidden wisdom. He wasn't a Christian, remember. He was more like a Gnostic, the Essenes, okay, the Gnostics that, and they spread to, I was just watching a video about Thomas, okay, and he went to like all the Vikings and all, so there's different, just because they look white or black, or it's all about the star races, okay, it's not about, and it's so funny, like I'm seeing people's like names and facial features and their stature, and I'm going like, you look like Lyran Arturian, or you look like, you know, Pleiadian Lyran, or ooh, wow, you have a lot of so it's so funny how they just write the expansion, but yeah, I keep finding myself doing that. I'm like, am I really doing this? Oh my goodness, it's wonderful. It is, it's wondrous, wonderful. So, now I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I definitely feel like, oh yeah, so galactically, you know, it's all about your star family origins and stuff. It's not about where you come from on the earth, because we're beyond that. Right? And just the fact that if you want to look at it from a spiritual religious, where you come from spirit first, okay? So where do you go to after you die? And so, I mean, there's a life before this planet, and there's a life after, so you just think of it in that term, however you want to think of it, but this is, I'm sharing it through my experience, and it's getting galactic up in here, like downright cosmic. So I believe, you know, there's benevolent and malevolent. And there could even be, just like in Star Trek, you know, there were, like, the Vulcans, weren't they supposed to be, like, bad or something? It's no wonder my mom was a Trekkie, like, Buck, okay, Scottish, Skota, Egyptian, her name is Candace, Kandakes, all this. It's like, she had these connections, she didn't even know why, okay? Why she loved black people, and like she had relationships with black men and all. I mean, people, all this racial stuff, right? And I was brainwashed thinking that stuff growing up too. Now you look back and you understand why, you know, and my father's Hebrew, so she has this affinity for these Hebrew men because she's freaking Egyptian, like star people, hybrid, okay, star family. So, I believe Jesus was of the same lineage, okay? He was hybrid. He wasn't just, he was son of God. Remember, you know, son of man, son of God. Immaculate conception, he, you know, that red hair connection with the Egyptians and everything. It's just these different beings from the stars, and I know it sounds crazy, but these are our bloodlines, okay? And people call them aliens, or they're angels, or it's cosmic, it's galactic, it's just beyond Terra, beyond the earth, it's beyond the form. It's nothing to be divided, it's nothing to be labeled, it's just to be experienced. Because all that other stuff is a way to judge it, compartmentalize it, and quantify it, and qualitate it. Qualify it, yeah, quantify and qualify. So, yeah, we're moving past that. We don't need to do that anymore either. So, yeah, just feeling this connection all the way back to the ancients and been reincarnated over and over. And so it's just, they're not so far removed as we think. Just like God, it's not so far removed as people might think. It's right. It's alive, and it's right here, and it's right now. And it goes all the way to the stars, baby. So I'm just absorbing all that. I think it's wonderful. A lot of really good energy is coming in now, and sleeping much better. Not as long, but sleeping what I need to sleep. And I think I was just like, maybe that milk thistle, I detoxed some stuff out of my body, more heavy metal or whatever. But that week, that energy was like, oh man, lots of people were feeling it. It was just like intense either way. It was just intense energy, good or bad, or up, down, however you experienced it. But it was just like, whoo, full open, like the valve was all the way open on that one, with that Gemini full super moon and this and that. So yeah, so winter solstice, winter wisdom, that's definitely the time for the divine feminine. That's her time of year when she's really, everybody, men and women, were anchoring in a lot of the feminine energy during the winter. So, and, the equinoxes are when the masculine and feminine are very balanced. I love all 4 times of year. And then, of course, the summer solstice is when when everyone is anchoring more of the masculine energy and bringing in more light and more codes, more information, more left brain stuff. And then this is when we're manifesting more this time of year. So, and remember, the manifesting takes part in the mind first, okay, but being balanced in the heart, so that when you're manifesting in the mind, they're pure and righteous thoughts. So, and that makes sense for the winter, okay, like the roots of the tree, the computer system, so that's all the information gets stored there, and then you run the program, and in the spring it all bursts forth and blossoms. So you have to develop the program, right, and then you run the program. So we're tinkering, we're tuning in with ourselves, our bodies, what we need to do with our bodies, our career, all kinds of different things, okay? So we're developing a lot of things during the winter. That's getting the creative feminine juices flowing, and really that undulating, right, in the root system. It's not out in your face. So there's a lot going on, though, behind the scenes and in the root system, right? All the undulating, the beat, the drum, the heartbeat of the earth. A lot is still happening, even though there's no leaves on the trees and all that. Don't be fooled, okay? So, and then you'll see all the results of the effort, all the results of all the work in the winter, spring forth, in the spring. So whatever we do right now, we see the results of in the spring. So if we're going to have a big, beautiful, blossoming tree with lots of fruit on it, then we need to make sure that it gets nourished, protected over the winter, that, you know, we're communicating with the trees and staying connected, and so, you know, and then translate that to other parts of your life. But I'm just saying for the tree lovers out there, because I love the trees. You better love the trees. Your lungs love them. So anyway, Secret of the Wings. If y'all have that movie, God gave me that one to just over and over and over and over and over. And then that was like years ago when I first met my twin flame, like August 2013. So sometimes God will give me something and I'll just watch it, like binge on it and just absorb. I did that with what was the fairy tale? Jack and the Beanstalk. Yeah, I watched that over and over and over and over. The one with Matthew Modine. So anyway, because it just gets into the more of the details, the karmic and inheritance, and okay, it's just so anyway. Secret of the Wings. It's Disney animated. You know, like Tinkerbell. Okay, it's called Secret of the Wings, I believe is the title. That is just like what I'm talking about with the spirit, with the breath, the wings, the lungs, the undulating, okay, the feminine, the two, okay, the two testes or the two ovaries, okay. That's enough. We've channeled enough information for y'all today, and I hope that should sustain you and fill you up and satisfy you and make you want to go take a nap, because I just bored you to tears. No, I want to go take a nap, but I love you guys. Some stuff was coming through, so I wanted to share, and yeah, I'm going to take advantage of my son going back to sleep and go, because I got up early this morning. I keep getting up so early. So I feel like there's a couple hours that I need to catch up on, because it's just, even though the energies have been better, still it's been kind of like, still only getting like, I don't know, like 5, 6 here and there. So, you know, you get a couple hours shaved off here and there, and it catches up with you. So, all right. I love you guys. Peace and blessings.